A post-secondary education experience pays a lot of dividends, many dividends, and most obvious is helping students find a career path and preparing them for success in their chosen fields. At Metropolitan Community College, the Theater Technology Apprenticeship Program, working alongside the Omaha Community Playhouse, has produced some very successful stories. And if you've ever attended a live performance and were dazzled by the special effects and wondered how do they do that, you'll want to meet our guest coming up next. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka. Thanks for joining us on Metro and More. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. We are back at the Omaha Community Playhouse to chat with John Gruber and Laura Marsh. John is a former student in MCC's Theater Technology program, and Laura an instructor at MCC. And I want to thank both of you for joining us here on a real set. It's normally we are in a different set, but we are in the bowels of the Omaha Community Playhouse. So it's a treat to have you both on.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
John, tell us a little bit about your background. You're an Omaha native, Omaha North grad, and you got interested in theater technology when and how?
Oh, well, I grew up with a family that had some involvement with the arts already. My grandmother was a seamstress for Opera Omaha for 30 years. So when I was a child, I would get babysat in the wardrobe department there, which is just underneath the boards of the stage itself at the Orpheum Theater downtown. So that was always around. That was a part of it. I went to Omaha North High School, and at first I was an actor, and that's what I thought I wanted. But then as I started looking at different avenues, I wanted a different level of creative expression. So when I graduated in '97, I looked at some opportunities that were here in town. My mom taught at Metro Community College, and so I was like, oh, okay, so I knew a lot about Metro, and I thought they were a really good institution that could be part of my journey. At the same time, the Omaha Community Playhouse had a technical theater apprenticeship program that was in its second year. And that was an opportunity where they could teach me carpentry, props, costuming, all these different things. And I wanted to take advantage of that. I thought that to have a career in this fine field of theater, that I needed to have as much experience in my toolbox that I can rely on down the road.
So we're going back to, what, 97?
1997.
When you started going to school at MCC?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then you went to UNO for a while, then back east, and then John works at Cirque du Soleil in the Michael Jordan production. Michael Jordan here on basketball. still doing play-by-play basketball.
Hard to beat a class.
Michael Jackson
Absolutely.
production. How long have you been doing that?
So I was here at the apprenticeship program. I went to UNO. I got my bachelor's in theater. I got the University of Delaware's for their Master of Fine Arts program reached out to me, and I went and became part of their class. And Cirque du Soleil found me coming out of grad school and asked me to come and join their show Zumanity in Las Vegas at the New York Hotel and Casino. I was there as a stage manager, fresh right out of school, which is an unusual experience. Usually you start a little lower. You start as an assistant stage manager. But honestly, my time at Metro and UNO all kind of combined, and my master's degree, to really give me a leg up in Cirque du Soleil. So I was a stage manager at Zumanity, and I really enjoyed that. I was there for about a year and a half. Then I got to be the production manager for Lake Tahoe Shakespeare Festival in '09. Again, using all the experience that I had from Metro to talk to different technical departments. Then when that contract finished, Cirque asked me to come back, which is also a little bit of a rarity, to be the general stage manager, before I was a stage manager, then general stage manager of Zumanity. Then when they started designing Michael Jackson 1 at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, they asked me to come on to be the initial general stage manager. So I got to help build the show with the amazing team of 117 technicians and 67 artists.
Laura, tell us about yourself. You are adjunct and teach what John learned, where he learned his initial education in this field, right?
Correct. I went to UNO as well, and I got my degree in directing and stage management, and then proceeded to get a job here at the Omaha Community Playhouse in the Nebraska Theater Caravan Department. Mm-hmm. And with the Nebraska Theater Caravan, we hire professional technicians, actors, and musicians to go out on tour through the nation. With the caravan, we often hire people who have trained through the apprenticeship program right here at the Playhouse and send them out on tour. So with my specialty in stage management, I then train a lot of the stage managers and work with those technicians who go out on tour and go out into the world, such as Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. Are you an Omaha native too?
Omaha area.
Omaha area.
From Plattsmouth. So.
Well, let's dig in. Let's dig into what you learn at MCC and Theater
Absolutely.
Tech and in the apprenticeship program. Explain to our viewers. Both of you.
Did you want to?
Well, the Theater Technology Apprenticeship Program is a program to teach backstage theater to students who want to then potentially pursue it as a career. They spend the first year doing a bit of classwork as well as learning a little bit of everything. We have props, costumes, scenery, box office, costumes, stage management, all the different areas of which they can explore for the first year. And that helps them dig in to see if they really do want this as a career, number one. And then you've only spent a year figuring it out instead of 4. And then they can start to figure out which area they like the best. And so then they spend their second year training in their area, or their major, if you will, in that area that they're going into. So in John's case, stage management, which is the person who runs the show, essentially. They are the central figure between all the departments within a show to make sure it happens on time and correctly and on budget and seamlessly.
Yeah. Very good. You know, the point of Metro and More is to let our viewers know the tremendous variety of educational opportunities at Metropolitan Community College, and I think that folks are kind of stunned at times at what you can select to do,
Absolutely.
Including theater tech. Did what Laura just describe what your experience was?
Very, very much so. When I went through, I was the only second class. So for me, during that time period, there wasn't a stage management focus yet. But also, I hadn't started stage managing yet in '97 when I joined. I did my double major in carpentry and lighting, but I did get to go on tour with the Nebraska Theater Caravan. I did the fall tour throughout Nebraska, and which really is why I love our state so much is the fact that I got to see these small towns and put in with a bus and truck where we show up. We have both an educational experience for them as well as a nighttime entertainment. Forever Plaid was my show that I got to load in, and I was the assistant technical director intern for that year, which was just an amazing opportunity to learn and take things that I'd already started learning here and really develop that further. So all of that, the carpentry, the lighting, and I also did sound work while here, really just laid that foundation for me.
Do you miss being on the road like that, packing up and traveling?
I'm not going to lie. There's a little part that's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
I am a person that likes going into a new environment, taking a read on the land, and figuring out how we can make the show work. And in that, because every theater, when you're on the road and you're traveling into small roadhouses, I think of the Smoot in West Virginia, where it's so small, and yet during the golden days of vaudeville, they had a pachyderm, an elephant, that actually walked in there. How they got an elephant in that theater, I have no idea. Because we backstage doing Christmas Carol on the East Coast tour that year with the Nebraska Theater Caravan, we had to build the set backstage as it was coming on into audience's view. But it's those experiences that makes you a better theater technician and really sets you up for a career, because you're always mindful of problem solving and how you can make the most to make sure that you have a great performance that night.
And that's what you all put on still, is the Christmas Carol, right?
Correct. A Christmas Carol and other productions depending on the season.
Yeah.
So, but Christmas Carol is loved across the country just as much as it is here in Omaha.
Yeah.
We've been to 49 states and 4 provinces, and we go to small 300-seat houses to 2,100-seat houses, and all the audiences love it. You know, Dickens is timeless.
So, John, you brought some things with you that we want to show off here.
Of course.
Now,
of course.
explain why you created these objects.
Absolutely. So I'm going to I hesitate to say festival, but a Burning Man regional, where basically it's a place where about 2,200 people in Michigan will get together and create interactive art, where we're out there in the middle of the woods around a giant lake, and I'm part of a Viking theme camp called Valhalla, after in Norse mythology, where Odin picked his selected warriors for afterlife.
So it's interactive art, not necessarily about theater.
Correct. But all of my, but oddly enough, in Valhalla, a lot of the people that are in my camp are from various other theaters. There is one person from Blue Man Group, that's like the head of props for Blue Man Group, another person from Chicago Shakespeare Festival, or Chicago Shakespeare Theater, excuse me, that we're all interacting and adding art that people that are there at the festival can enjoy. So that's why there's a Nordic theme, as it were, with my presentation today.
I just wondered how much of interactive art is involved with the Michael Jackson Cirque du Soleil presentation.
Quite a bit. We have, for Michael Jackson 1, we have a very, we call it immersive experience for our audience. We have with Billie Jean, because it's all the great classics of Michael Jackson, but the Cirque twist of it. For Billie Jean, we have a complete blackout, and artists come out in full-body LED suits, similar to what we have when it comes to LEDs here, and they break dance in the dark to Billie Jean, complete with aerial numbers that I, as a stage manager, call, so I communicate to technical departments, so we can moonwalk up and down the sidewalls. We have an aerial flight down the aisles. In Thriller, we have bungee artists that land in the aisle right next to the patron that's coming to watch the show.
Yeah. Can you demonstrate a little moonwalking for us, John?
Not well.
What?
Not well either.
No, the reason I asked is I assume that this is an example of some of the things that you do in production for the show.
Yes. Like the best part of working for Cirque du Soleil is I'm surrounded by very creative types, and they're all working together with me. And I could ask, hey, in your expert opinion, what about this? And then my last night in Vegas, where I was packing my van to come here, I had hosted a party, basically a maker's party, where people came over. We had pizza and refreshments, and made sure that everyone could pitch in. I had an LED technician come over and help me with this.
How much of this do you get into in terms of instruction in your classes?
It depends on the class, of course. In stage management, I approach the more logistical foundation. So that really starts with the knowledge of who to talk to, how to communicate. So all of this that you are seeing, that has to get put together. How? Who do you talk to? How do you make it happen? How do you make it efficient? How do you make it with budget? And how do you communicate with every department? So this, for example, could involve the properties department and potentially costume department, and as well as the electrics department. So how do you make that communication happen between all departments? That's what stage management does, is make all the departments talk together. So then you get into those individual departments I mentioned, like props, electrics, and so there's a considerable amount of instruction that has to happen. How do you wire those LEDs? How do you fix them if they go wrong? How do you sew that cape? How do you make the raven move? How do you sculpt out of clay? How do you know which chemicals to use, which clay to use? How do you make the fire happen and not burn somebody?
Well, here, let me ask you this. How do you know what to teach? I mean, each production may require something different that maybe maybe doesn't even exist.
Sure.
Somebody has an idea.
Yeah. And you are exactly right, an idea. And that's where John was alluding to different creative types. Right. We all bring our own specialties, our own backgrounds, and our own exposure as we work with various theater companies throughout the country, the region, the city. And share each other's ideas, and that helps us become more creative for the next production.
Let me throw this out. Go ahead, John.
No, if I may also, in Cirque du Soleil, we're always pushing the creative boundary of what needs to be invented so that we can enjoy an idea or a dream one of our artists had. The show at the Bellagio, that was in 1998. They had to invent all this underwater technology just so they can make these giant hydraulic lifts move with this huge pool. When you walk into there's a high dive number in it, and the entire time the stage level itself has tons of little holes, and it descends down, water comes through, and you thought that it was solid ground, but a moment later someone's diving through it. But that only comes from allowing a space of creativity, and then having stage managers like ourselves to go, okay, so I see this, okay, how can we execute that vision on time, on budget with the rest of the group?
Two questions. Number one, when you watch movies, are you mesmerized a little bit about how different maybe the creative element is in terms of creating those illusions versus what you do on stage? And number two, when we talk about all this, is it like a mandate from someone who is saying this is how we want this show done, do it? Or are you telling whoever it is that kind of has a half-baked idea what they want, how to finish that idea.
Cool. So the first question, I will say that absolutely watching a movie for me is two experiences, and usually sometimes I'll have to watch a movie twice because one part of my brain completely invests in the art that's happening, the drama that's happening, and I will get caught up in that and enjoy that, and that's great.
First thing I learned in broadcast journalism is this is going to ruin radio and television for the rest of your life.
Yes,
because you'd be watching and you know what's happening.
Exactly. So I'm watching. I can see that. They obviously stopped on a position so the camera can get them just right. Okay. But I mean, ultimately, American Werewolf in London was when I was a kid, I got to watch that, which, by the way, is what became Michael Jackson Thriller. Michael Jackson saw American Werewolf London, and the werewolf transformation in that, was like, I need to hire John Landis to direct this little, song that I have that I want to do a music video to called Thriller. So but I saw that at an early age and seeing, how do you do that? How do you make the werewolf transformation? That just got me creatively thinking, there's got to be a way that you just do that. How do you just do that? And then you reverse engineer and you work from there and you think of that. So for me watching it, it's those two parts. If there's computer graphics, then I'm kind of like, okay, well then, all right. But if you're talking about nice, hard, physical special effects, very, very much loved The Force Awakens with the latest Star Wars movie, that they're using practical effects again. You're like, okay, that involves artists. That involves craftsmen that are working on it to make an idea.
But again, the difference between doing that on television and film versus on stage.
Huge. Yeah. Because on stage, we have to do it night after night. We're coming up at Michael Jackson on our 2000th show in August. And so we've done the show. We do 476 shows a year.
But is it the same technology, the same thing you would do if you were filming it for a movie?
Not necessarily. Sometimes for a movie, you can just do, okay, it just needs to work once. That's all we need to do. We don't care about the cleanup because the camera will say cut. The cameras will stop. You clean up all the mess that you just made. But on stage, there's, you got 40 more minutes of stage time. Someone might slip on that blood.
A lot of considerations there.
Very much so.
So whose idea is it? Is it yours, or is somebody else saying, here's how you need to do it?
Usually I have, as a stage manager, I'm there to support the artistic team.
So
I have a foundation, don't get me wrong. So if one of my stage management trainers, Rick Cunningham at the University of Delaware, said, you don't have to, hey boss, here's my artistic opinion, and interject it, but always have an artistic opinion to offer should they ask it. We're there to provide service to make sure the play moves forward, and is always progressing.
I suppose it depends on what kind of ego you're dealing with.
That a little bit. That's a little bit. Absolutely. But I'm blessed. I grew up in a wonderful family. My mom teaches at Metro, as I mentioned earlier. She's part of the fabrication lab at Metro's Fort Omaha campus. So some of this stuff here is inspired completely from her art that I grew up around, as well as where her art is taking her right now. Let's
talk about this guy here.
Yeah, please.
Now, this is for your event.
This is for the event, you bet.
Well, tell us about him.
I'm gonna stand for this.
Now the mannequin is a female, right?
No, it's a male.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's a gentleman. So I call this an Odin Scarecrow. There is a place in Las Vegas called the Las Vegas Mannequin Store, and they thankfully made this for me, or they didn't make it for me. I found him, but it was the one middle-aged. Everything else was either female or very, very young. For Odin, who's kind of the top deity in Norse mythology, he has one eye, so hence the patch. This was not the original paint job. One of my friends who's a makeup special effects guy at my show at Michael Jackson 1, he painted the top for me, so this is all of his work to try to take it. We felt that it looked kind of like Sean Connery in The Hunt for Red October. So he did this paint for me, and then what I did was design, cut, and assemble this, which is the LED rune cloak. There are about 20 LEDs underneath here that I took out, sewed together, cut out this out of felt, made sure it had nice solid backing so it's very flexible and can withstand, but also illuminate the face nicely. But this is a combination, and also there's a lot of LED technology getting involved in the costuming right now, especially at Cirque du Soleil. We have tons of LED elements in our costumes at Michael Jackson, and that's the way of the future. I feel that's a lot will go. Also, I know my mom right now is jamming on doing this very thing and trying to teach classes on that at Metro at this very moment. So you can learn.
So you're designing curriculum at MCC.
Completely. It's like, yes, and so unintentionally, but, I'm very inspired by my mom.
So are those designs where the LED is showing through, or
Yeah.
does that say anything in particular? Or
They're just Viking runes. They're not spelling anything particular for this one.
Yeah.
I just kind of was like, what looks good visually? I'll own that for art. I wasn't trying to do like anything crazy or a secret message, as it were.
Very cool.
So we got that. We then, for the rest of the cloak, we have these LEDs in here. So for this, I contacted the LED technician at my show, and he gave me a tip. So I was like, okay, great. I had to sew 600 LED lights into this cape, which took a little time.
Oh,
it can
cool.
absolutely change color, and should be speed as well. There you go. So
we need that for our Christmas trees.
Right? Well, and all of this is very, very doable. Like this, you can order these LED lights. It just takes a little bit of time to sew. Like 600 lights is not something that happens overnight. Needless to say, I had a few television marathons while sewing. But yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
Cool. So
Very cool. So you anticipate that by showing this, you'll give some people some ideas how they might use this same kind of
and that's always the
idea,
goal.
yeah.
That is always the goal. In the culture out there for the event that I'm going to for Lakes of Fire, it's really about making art that inspires people to make. The whole idea of this is somebody will see that one year and go, oh, and then the next year they might bring something completely different based on your idea.
Sure.
And you may know about it, you may never know about it, but who cares? We're there to push art forward and make something that's really...
Right. And I assume you're there as much to learn for that purpose down the line as you are to offer what you've learned already.
Very much so. They have workshops there for different crafts and stuff. And this year, I'm very excited. There are a couple on how to do pyro better in custom-made apparatus. So my goal for the following year is to have some kind of sculpture that involves live flame.
So Laura, with students, at what point do you start to notice where their specific direction is going? Like, John, you got focused on this part of it.
Sure.
At what point, and does it vary with students, or how's it work?
It does vary because some students decide that they want that corporate paycheck, that steady hand, But then what we teach goes out into the real world, as we say in our language.
Right.
So, for example, what you see here is transferable in design setups at, say, Nebraska Furniture Mart or Mulhall's, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do.
Living decor for the props world, the costumes world. Costumes can translate into fashion design. Electricians, obviously, into an electrician job. So
Great
there's
points.
some of that. Everything we teach within theater and the Metropolitan Community College Apprenticeship Program is translatable to life skills. So even stage managers, the people, communication skills, organization, reliability, the list goes on and on.
You bet.
So with that, you do have that handful of students, but more successfully, they do go into theater of some kind. And usually by the end of that first year, they think they have a pretty good idea what they want, and that's what we train on that second year. And I would have to say probably 99% of them do go forward in their careers in that focus.
Cool.
Totally.
Very cool. So, John, tell us about the burning cauldron here. I think I have seen something like that at Mulhall's.
Yes,
or
Lanaha's
or something.
It's very much available to the general public. These fire pillars, I found one on Amazon I really like, so I bought 3 more. And the whole idea for it was just adding some gold elements. So this is just gold paint with some Viking runes on it. It says "Welcome to Valhalla" in runes there. And just to add an extra visual element, when we're out there at the lake, there's no, it's all portable generator power. There's no, so everything I have is battery operated so that we can be in the middle of nowhere. But this really adds, when you're out in the woods and it's the middle of the night, 4 of these guys will add a very nice conversation area.
What fuels that?
Propane.
Oh, propane.
Just a simple Coleman propane tank. Very, very easy. It's always about, though, once you put it in, you got to make sure that the system is safe. But these
Very
prepackaged ones are very usable around the home.
And you did all the customization.
I did.
The way you wanted.
Did.
What about the bird?
So the bird, since Odin in mythology had 2 ravens, Memory and Thought, Hugin and Munin, And they went around the world to help him. You know, it's an all-seeing deity in this. So he had these 2 ravens. I wanted to make something that was kind of fun and interactive. So I talked to some of the prop technicians at Michael Jackson 1. I was like, I've got this idea. I don't know how to do it. I think I do. And they found in 2006, Hasbro made the Squawker's Macaw. It's a little macaw bird that is fully interactive. And I wanted to have something kind of animatronic. So I took him and cut the beak down tremendously, sculpted out the beak system there, made that into plastic so that I can have a nice functional beak. The same friend that painted this painted his base, but
wow.
Yeah.
So you turned the macaw into a raven. Basically.
Exactly so.
Yeah.
Exactly so.
Very cool.
A lot of times in prop world, you're not building something from the ground up. Your goal is just to make it so that when the audience sees it, they have a certain reaction. So in this, I wanted to make sure that it felt like a raven. You look at it, you couldn't confuse it for not being a raven, though he is a bit shaggy. However, ravens they do have quite a bit of tufts. I did a lot of research on ravens during this process. Oh, okay, so that's the difference between ravens and crows. Yeah, but he does have a remote control. He can dance. He can do all kinds of stuff, which we won't mess around too much today to eat up time. But
what about the chess pieces? Is what I'll call them.
Yeah. So the Vikings had this game. Here, 1 second. Let me just turn him off.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. So the Vikings had a game called Nefertafel, and it was a game of strategy. If you see the show Vikings. I forgot which. I think that's on A&E, but they do play Nefertafel in the show, and it's a 13 by 13 square board. And the whole idea of Nefertafel is thinking of strategy when you're surrounded. There are 24 opposing pieces going against you in the middle with your king, and you're supposed to get the king to the corner. And so I was reading about it. I was like, okay, so there's this game. God, I've never played it in my life. I still, to this day, by the way, have never played it.
Sounds like more fun than chess, doesn't it?
It's fun, and it can be a much quicker game, but it definitely, I think it really caters to the Norse way of thinking.
Now, you equipped me with this.
I did, yes, sir.
I did not break my wrist. But what do we have? This is a laser glove?
It is a laser glove. So this is not one of my pieces, but I love it, and I play with it all the time. It is 4 individual laser pointers that have a diffuser. So if you look at the ground, you can see multiple beams of laser light. And in a smoke machine, if smoke was going on, this is pretty impressive.
Oh, look at this. Now, this is when I move my fingers.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
So if you're in a place or like you're in a geodome kind of a thing, that can have a nice field of vision on that. But it's just a really nice application. Now, with that, of course, you have to be very safe. Make sure you don't hit anyone in the eyes.
Can I keep this?
It's tempting, huh?
This is very nice. This is very cool. Did you develop this?
I didn't develop this. I did talk to the person that made it and reached out to them through an app called Etsy that is a wonderful app for supporting craftsmen from around the country and world.
Better shut it off.
Yeah, better shut it off. Got little clicks there. But I was kind of looking for before laser, I was looking for something that had in the palm an LED light like those have. Kind of like an Iron Man kind of vibe. I thought that was fun. But also, I'm an Eagle Scout from Nebraska. I like practicality in my art. So with that LEDs, if I'm at nighttime and I'm, say, in the porta potty or in my tent and I need to see something, I can very easily click on that and I can utilize the lighting.
Very cool.
This year, though, with the lasers, it just adds a little extra pop.
Here, I'll give it back. We've only got a minute left. John, everybody's proud of you. Thanks for coming back. And this is John's vacation time, and before he heads off, and then eventually back to Las Vegas. Any final thoughts on theater education, theater tech education?
I just want to say thank you for having me here. I can't stress how important Metro has been in my both development as an artist as well as a professional theater artisan. Metro itself, between now with the fabrication lab that they have, I know they have it at the Fort Omaha location, and they're putting some more money in with 3D printers that the public can come in, take classes, and learn from. This is where technology is going. 3D printing is something that is beyond just, little plastic tchotchkes. 3D printing is now to the point where you can make homes, highways, what have you, real infrastructure much more affordably than what we could in the past. That's where the future is going, and you can learn that at Metro. Not just theater stuff, but different kind of craft things that are just a little outside of the box in thinking.
Yes. That's a good commercial there for MCC. Laura, thanks for being with us and
Thank
doing this.
you.
John,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Absolutely, sir.
You can
Thank
check
you.
out what John was talking about at mccneb.edu. We're at the Omaha Community Playhouse. John Gruber, Laura Marsh. Thank you for joining us on Metro and More. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.